practicing gratitude has genuinely just shifted my subconscious closer to positive than negative, closer to that
Yes.
half full. And I think that's the coolest thing about gratitude that maybe we don't always talk about because it's hard to explain to other people.
Well, and I think it's such a good point. It comes back to this thing that I feel so strongly about is just a choice. And this getting out of bed on the left side or the right side. So obviously, Jack, you've seen a shift of how it's helped you. And so when you see that, you want to help other people and tell them. And so I realize in any audience I'm speaking to, I'm never going to get 100%, but I'm also not going to get zero. I'm going to get somewhere in there. And if I can get, when I look out in those audiences, as an example, if 50 to 75% are watching me and paying attention and all this kind of thing, I feel I'm really making progress. And then when they come up to the book table afterwards to buy books and journals, that I will say, "What's your biggest takeaway?" And they talk about it and so forth. But it's just something that I offer to people as a way because this again the thing I never get too much into what's the old line, sex, religion, and politics, but also just kind of the meaning of life. But life has a there's an end point to it, and we don't talk about it very much. Everybody celebrates their birthday and all that kind of thing, and I'm kind of in a little different space right now because I have three brothers and a sister. I lost one brother last year. I was just in Phoenix over the last 3 or 4 days to see another brother who's about to pass away, and it just made me think a lot about my life and how I've taken care of myself and so forth. But the one's already passed away, and the other one's about to. And I think so. I wonder how gratitude can help that person, or what I can do to keep reaching out to people. And you know what? And it's funny. I try not to be too sarcastic or cynical about it because you can't help everybody. And to your point, Jack, you're right. If you want to help yourself, help other people. But not everybody's willing to be helped. And there's sometimes you'll say to somebody, it's always my favorite thing is, well, I'm going to write in the gratitude journal. So have you written in the gratitude journal? Okay, you see, now what the story, I go, here comes an excuse. So you haven't. So you haven't. Just tell me you haven't, and then call me when you have, and let me know how it's working for you. But
Mhm.
the thing this is a little bit personal, but what the heck? My mother was manic depressive and had a lot of bipolar, a lot of very negative experiences, and then she died of cancer when I was 30. But I think I got some of that from her. So here's yet another reason for writing this down, is as opposed to keeping it in your head, or I just think grateful thoughts, which are fine, they're good. But I'd say once or twice a month, that roller coaster of life that goes like this, I'll have a day sometimes in the afternoon where I'm kind of getting a little bit depressed and I'm kind of upset about a few things. And the first thing I do is I grab this and I reread what I wrote this morning, and it gets me back on track again. And so often I talk about my health and my two. I have a 40-year-old son named Kyle and a 30-year-old son named Connor, and they're the love of my life, and they're both just fantastic. And I'm so spoiled, even though my wife, their mother died when they were 4 and 14. I raised them myself, and I call them my rock star sons because they're just so cool. And it's just interesting how I'll go back and see what I wrote this morning, and I get kind of out of some funk or potential to go down a negative rabbit hole. So we're all human, and as human, we've got that big, I call it roller coaster, but that big cycle of emotions, and it just helps you to manage them and helps you to bring it back. And I'm glad you said that, Jack. Just you mentioned that you started this practice and you saw the difference in you, and so as a result, you want to share that with a lot of people.
Yeah, 100%. Um, you talked about like your experience with your brothers and sisters and mm, mortality. I think as a younger person, I I often wonder what it's like to get older, and like is it a scary feeling? Is it and how does gratitude help you with that? Because I imagine like you start having to take less for granted, right?
Yeah, I think it's. I wouldn't call it scary. That's a good choice of a word. But it certainly, when I turned 75 a couple weeks ago, I noticed I'm already pretty. introspective and I think about things, and I'm not just impulsive and go do something, and I really think about what's the meaning of this and so forth. But it made me even more introspective and thinking about, okay, so I'm 75, so let's say I've got for probably 10 and maybe even 20, possibly 25 years on the planet. After all the things I've done with gratitude and speaking, and I used to run big stores for Nordstrom and Lowe's, home improvement and stuff like that, all the things I did, and I think, what are you going to accomplish in the next 20 years? So it's always about, and that's why for the third time, you want to help yourself, help other people. Honestly, Jack, I was on a podcast, speaking of podcasts, a couple months ago, and I guess I've gotten this question before, but I liked it. How do you define success?
Mm-hmm.
And I went, oh, okay. And I said, well, can I break it down into personally and professionally? And they said, sure. I said, well, personally, I define success on how well Kyle and Connor are doing. Because again, they lost their mother when they were very young. And I'm just so thrilled and so pleased. And my older son, Kyle, just had my third grandchild. And so it's just, and Connor's the one that's 30, he's about to get married in San Diego in a couple months. And so, and then I said, but professionally, and this is where I can get emotional about this, but every week, whether it's my videos, talks I've done, emails, cards, voicemails, texts, different things, every week, anywhere from 2 to 3 people tell me I changed their life. And I just can't even, I can hardly say it sometimes without getting choked up because I think, how did I get so fortunate to, the last thing I did 10 years ago was managing a Lowe's home improvement north of Seattle. And I quit and I said, I want to be a speaker. It's what I always wanted to do. And I was 63 years old at the time. And I'm so glad, sounds self-serving, so glad I had the guts to walk away from it, but I just didn't want to leave this earth not following through on one of my dreams, which was to be a motivational speaker, which I had when I was 18. So it took like 45 years, something like that. So, but to impact those lives is just, and when you show people those things, so to get that validation, I tell people that I have a notebook over here. It says heartwarming emails and texts, and 3-ring notebook, and I've got a lot of the emails, and I put them all in there. And there's another thing, on a bad day, I can go, if I'm not doing well, something's bugging me, I go grab that notebook, start looking through all these notes that people have sent me, and it'll pop you right back up. And one of the things I do in my keynotes is, I'm not a fan of PowerPoint. I know a lot of people do PowerPoint, maybe the majority, I don't know. But I do a lot of exercises and activities, and I hand out in person, and I can do them on virtual too, because I tell them, grab a piece of paper and write this. And I'll hand out little 3x5 cards, put them at all the tables and stuff, and then they do an exercise in the front, and they do an exercise on the back. But I tell them all these exercises that we do, and there's probably 5 or 6 in an hour, are all designed to help you on the bad days. Because again, on the good days, it's easy to be rocking and rolling because everything's going great. So I provide these exercise activities, little things you can do, and I'll give you one right now. I'm looking right at it here. This is an example. I tell people, so take out a pad of paper, get your pen, get ready to go. I'm going to give you 60 seconds. Now this is going to seem like a big exercise, but I just want you to take 60 seconds. As fast as you can, I want you to write down the most memorable events of your life. Personal, professional, trips, vacations, mom, dad, girlfriend, learning how to drive, whatever. What are the most memorable? So they're all writing real fast. So then at 60 seconds, I go, okay, so now stop. Now here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you a week on this. You got to promise me you'll follow through on this assignment. So today is February 13th, so a week from today is February 20th. I want you in the next week to go back to that list and add as many things as you can. You can't think of them all in 60 seconds. And then I want you to put it in order of priority. What's the most memorable? Number 1, number 2, and so forth. And then I said, and then you can do one of 3 things: top 25, top 50, or top 100. You pick whatever one you want. So me, at my 7+ decades on the planet, mine says the top 100 most memorable events of the life of David George Brooke. And so I put it in order. Number 1 is Connor, number 2 is Kyle, and it just goes down the list. I saw the Beatles twice. I learned how to fly. I was a national champion hydroplane driver. I've done all these different things. And it's another one of those tools. If I'm thinking, gosh, Jack's done so much more than I have. I haven't done anything. And then I go look at that list and I go, what are you talking about? Look at all the things you've done. You've spoken in 24 of the 48 contiguous states, et cetera, et cetera. But they're all designed to get you back on the right track when you go down the wrong hole.
You're reminding yourself of how amazing you are, of the
Yeah.
moments that make your life great. That's so cool. You just finished watching a clip from the Grateful Podcast episode with David George Brooke, That Gratitude Guy. Go check out the full episode right here if you enjoyed. It's right here. Click it. Right there.